Hi, Concurrent Enrollment. It feels like it's been a little while since I've checked in with you via one of these little videos. We're entering week 8, our second to last week of the school year. I know it's been kind of a wild ride, and as always, I'm so impressed with how well you guys have handled this. And we're going to be wrapping things up with the entire book in the next couple of weeks. So I hope you've been able to focus a little bit on some of your other classes the past few weeks as we went through Born a Crime. I know a lot of you have been taking AP exams and really just making sure that you've got all of your ducks in a row for these next coming weeks. So as always, your stuff is due on Friday by 11:59 p.m. and I'll walk you through some suggested ways to manage your time, but ultimately, the same as always, you decide how you want to tackle the week. This week, you do not technically have school on Monday, so my office hours are Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 1. So I am in my Google Meet chat room. I chatted with a couple of you last week, so it was good to hear your voices, and you are always welcome to pop in there or to send me emails and Schoology messages. I really have no preference either way, so do whatever works best for you. This week, we're going to be wrapping up chapter 23, so we've literally read the entire book cover to cover in theory. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have taken a week off at some point along the way, but at least in theory, we've covered the whole book. So let's start off with your block 1. So you're going to take your quiz over chapter 23 after reading through it, taking some notes. There are 2 crash course episodes that'll help to prep you for the quiz, cover some of these key materials. They're both about globalization, but John Green acknowledges both the positives and the drawbacks of globalization. It's like life becomes so much easier and we can buy things from all over the world. But at the same time, sometimes that means that we don't shop local and there are human rights violations in other parts of the world that we're sort of supporting by buying their products. And it's a complicated nature. So those 2 videos will help you not only for the quiz this week, but for your final test that you've got coming up next week. Then on block 2 of this week, you've got your last thinking through sources. This one is called The Future as History, which feels oxymoronic. It seems like that doesn't make sense, but basically it's looking at how people have thought about the future in the past. I know, it's crazy, but you'll get into it. So you'll see the source assignments list for this week. I did have to circle back and assign some of you a role a second time, but I tried to make sure, for example, if you were a thesis writer before, that you got a lighter role this time. But there's just only so many people in class, so we had to loop back a little bit. So check that to see which source you have and which prompt you have for part 2. And then we've got, 9 different people, 3 from each hour, who are going to be our captains for this week. So as always, the captains are responsible for sharing part 2 out with everybody else, and then for making sure that they put that link in their submission for part 1. You can either upload it directly, or if you put the link in, that means I can see it as people are updating it, so you don't have to worry about them finishing their stuff before you submit. Or you can email it to me, that works too. I think that's all you need for your thinking through sources stuff. Then on Friday of next week, because we've only got 3 days of lessons since you don't have school on Monday, you're going to have your final primary source analysis. This is the 6th one that you've done this year because there's 6 units that we've covered. So you can choose any source from chapters 20 to 23. You can use the thinking through sources one that you were assigned for any of those weeks. You can use one that's in your textbook. I always suggest that you choose one that has a clear author that goes with it, because it just makes it a lot harder to do this assignment if you're guessing at the author. So especially since you've got 4 chapters to choose from, that would be my advice there. So you're following the same format as always. You've got 5 old primary source analyses of feedback from me, but in case you're still struggling a little bit, really what I look for are 2 paragraphs. One of the descriptive stuff, and then the second of the analysis stuff. So the descriptor stuff, first bullet point, super easy. Just tell me what the source is, the title of it, the author, date, and location of where it was created. Then you've got some explaining, some describing who was the author and who was the original audience for this text. And you want to be specific. So don't just say the people of China, because it's like the author knows that everyone in China is not going to read that book unless it's Mao's Little Red Book, which probably everyone in China literally did read. there's going to be a potential market within that. Is it men? Is it women? Is it people of a certain age or people of a certain level of education? So think about that with your audience. And then briefly describe the source's content. So literally, like, just explain to me what the source is. And then the analysis part is, what is the author trying to tell the audience, and how is he or she manipulating what he or she says or draws in order to convey that message? So why are they saying things the way that they're saying it? And what do you see that tells you that gives you some of those hints? So that's where quoting your source or describing specific things that you see in the image are going to be helpful. Then you want to supply that historical context. How does this source matter in the grand scheme of things? If you think about, every chapter in our book has maybe a dozen sources that go with it, if you think about our thinking through sources and then the textbook. So in all the sources that exist through all of history, why is this one valuable? What does it tell us about the bigger picture? Not just about who this person was that created it, but the world at this time. So that's what you want to think about in that interpretation piece of it that I know is sometimes a little bit of a struggle. Then we always have our look to the next week. And for this one, this is looking to the final week of the entire year. So your final quiz is over the last chapter of A History of the World in 6 Glasses. So you've looked at beer, coffee, tea, wine, spirits, and then Coca-Cola is what we wrap up with here. So that'll be your quiz on Monday. Then you'll have your thematic review. Just like last time, you're only going to have to fill in one box of the entire thematic review chart. So that's a pretty quick assignment. Then you'll have some study stuff available like Jeopardy! And then you're going to take your Periodization 6 test. That's going to be a short answer question test. I'm going to make it available Wednesday through Friday so that those of you that have busy weeks and other stuff going on have a little bit more time. That seemed to go well for the Born a Crime test. So I thought we would do that again. And then that way, like, if you want to do it on Wednesday and be done with your entire year, you can certainly do that. So that is what you have coming up in that final week. As you'll be getting notifications from school and stuff, you guys are going to be holding on to your textbooks and your Chromebooks until next year so that we don't have to worry about safety concerns as we collect all of those. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. I'm a little distracted because Sherlock is like freaking out about something downstairs. Clearly there's a dog walking outside. So this is our look at the final week of the year. It's been quite an adventure, and the one thing that I know helps me every day is knowing that I'll get to see you guys next fall. And so I look forward to that, even if it's just walking through the hallways. But I know that a lot of you are going to be in Concurrent Enrollment Government, and I am so excited for that class. So I will see lots of you either first or second trimester in that class. So I wish all of you well, and I hope that you're great, and I miss you. And I'm really excited that we can finish this year off strong. So as always, let me know if you need anything, and have a fantastic summer after that. Okay, bye guys.